Yesterday was 100 days until the start of college football for the 2024 season. On3 Sports released the top 100 players for the 2024 season, and one Tennessee Volunteer ranks number one ahead of the pack. What this means for Tennessee moving forward in 2024 and beyond, that and more at your Friday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Friday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am Eric Kane, so happy to have you guys with us here today, making Locked On Vols your first listen each and every day. Shout out everydayers for making this show what it is. Shout out Game Time, where you can download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's at downloading the Game Time app. We have got a fun show. I know I say this a lot, but I think today really is going to be a fun show. On3 Sports released its top 100 players for the college football season, and if you're watching on YouTube, you see that name right there. Should be as no surprise if you're listening as well. James Pearce ranked number one in college football. What this means for Pearce, for Tennessee, and more, and who else? What other Volunteers are listed in that top 100? Spoiler, you're not going to be happy. In segment 2, Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel named number 23 in the top, or when CBS Sports ranked the Power 4 head coaches. Number 23, how far of a fall was that from this time last year? And is this valid? That's coming up in segment number 2. And then Aaron Hurd over there on X, inspired from a Twitter Tuesday question from earlier this week, the top 10 running backs for Tennessee since the year 2010. Guys, there's some names on there that shouldn't be on there, but here we are. That's coming up in segment number 3. You can watch us, listen to us, download us, subscribe to us, all that and more for free wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on the Locked On Vols YouTube channel. Okay, let's dive down deep into it. James Pearce ranked number one according to On3's top 100 players in college football. Should come as no surprise. You know, On3 was the one recruiting service that had James Pearce ranked as a 5-star entering the class of 2022. The other outlets, I think, had him as a 4-star. You know, one, I believe it was ESPN, had him as a 3-star. That's super embarrassing. And again, another example of how ESPN is not good at college football recruiting, doesn't put forth the resources any longer. But nonetheless, On3 is the only outlet that had James Pearce at number one, so they're doubling down on this. And of course, there's been so much talk, and we're going to have Max Chadwick on for Pro Football Focus to talk about James Pearce, hopefully next week. Again, he joined the show a couple weeks ago, but there's a lot of talk about the rise in stock for Tennessee's James Pearce, as there should be. So On3 has him as the number one ranked player entering the 2024 season of the top 100 in college football. This is what On3's story had to say, and we'll see who wrote this in On3. This is Nick Schultz, and this is what he had to say about James Pearce. Actually, this is Clark Brooks on James Pearce. James Pearce is simply a defender who you need to know where he aligns on any given snap. He launches like a rocket, has grade B-, gap rips, swim counters to counter tackle stressing, coming off a season where he tallied 13 sacks. No returning defender is better at snatching impactful plays at 17.1%. And again, he grades him out as a B-, gap rip, swim counters, all that. Essentially saying, hey, James Pearce is so good, and he's been using this on athleticism alone when he continues to refine himself in the technically sound items that come to play in the defensive line, especially with Rodney Garner. He could get even better. And I think that's why his stock is just so high right now, despite being so good last year. So James Pearce is listed at number one in terms of the top 100 college football players entering the 2024 season. What other Vols are ranked in the top 100? Anybody? Bueller? I asked my wife the other day if she'd ever watched Ferris Bueller, and she said no, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm literally 1 year older than you, and so many people talk about me being so young and not cultured and everything. I mean, come on, you got to know what Ferris Bueller is. She had heard of the movie, she just never seen it. I was really disappointed. But Bueller, nobody else. There's no other Tennessee Volunteer ranked inside the top 100 per On3. And again, part of me, that's not a huge surprise. We talk about the EA Sports rating segment a couple of days ago here on this show. James Pearce should be up there, and then who would be the next highest rated Vol. There wasn't a clear-cut answer. We talk about James Pearce being a potential number 1 overall pick in 2024. What other Vol could be the highest rated or highest drafted volunteer next year in the 2025 draft? Again, Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus might conclude us in a little bit next week, but there's no clear-cut answer. So part of me is saying, okay, well, college football it's nationwide. There's 4 power conferences. I mean, there's a lot of good football. I think there's 66, maybe 67 now power football head coaches. Whatever the case is, there's a lot of good football players out there. So part of me is like, okay, well, this kind of checks out. The other part of me saying, you mean to tell me Nico didn't get a list on here? And I know Nico's got 1 start under his belt. I get it. But you mean to tell me Nico couldn't slide in at 94, 95? You mean to tell me Squirrel White might not get on here? Brew McCoy's a name. You know, people voting on this and people doing this might just know Brew McCoy is a name. I think Bryson Eason and Omar Norman-Lott and Omari Thomas are becoming better draft-eligible prospects, right? Chris Brassell's unproven. Dante Thornton's unproven. Dylan Sampson, for the most part, is unproven. So I get it. But I'm just like, man, it's still a little surprising that no other Vol creeped into the top 100. Nonetheless, James Pearce does take the cake at number 1. In case you're curious, some of the other players I'm not going to go through all 100 here, but some of the other players engulfed in the top portion of the rankings: Luther Burden, the wide receiver of Missouri, he's there at number 2. Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle of Texas, is at number 3. Carson Beck, quarterback of Georgia, is at number 4. Will Campbell, offensive tackle at LSU, is at number 5. Again, the same list of names and characters that we talk about a lot of times in the power rankings in the SEC and college football and NFL draft prospects. I mean, these are the same names, right? You got Mason Graham, defensive lineman from Michigan, at 6. Deion Walker, defensive lineman from Kentucky, at number 7. Will Johnson, cornerback of Michigan's, at number 8. Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia's, at number 9. And then McMillan, the wide receiver of Arizona, is there at number 10. Arguably the best offensive football player in college football coming into the 2024 season. And as we spoke on, we mentioned his name on the EA Sports NCAA football. By the way, somebody said in the YouTube comments that that this specific poster has never heard of it referred to as NC Dubs. You kidding me? What are you talking about? Like, I had to stop myself from saying NC Dubs instead of saying EA Sports College Football 25. It's NC Dubs. That's the video game, but it's neither here nor there. I thought that was kind of funny. Ollie Gordon, the second, is who I'm getting at. Oklahoma State's running back. He comes in at number 11. Other SEC notables here on the top, we'll call it 25. Quinn Ewers, quarterback of Texas, is number 12. Jackson Dart, quarterback of Ole Miss, is number 13. Let's see here. Harold Perkins, linebacker of LSU, is at number 17. Walter Nolan, hello, that's a name. Defensive lineman from Ole Miss, is at number 23. And then those are all the SEC players that I mentioned in the top 25 here. But if you look at some other notables in the top 100 of this list, according to On3, Shadir Sanders, quarterback of Colorado, who comes in at number 26. Jalen Milroe, quarterback of Alabama, is number 33. Dylan Gabriel is at number 34. He's now at Oregon. Of course, he was UCF, Oklahoma. Now he's at Oregon. Some other notables: Tyler Booker, offensive lineman from Alabama, is at number 41. So on and so forth. Will Howard, quarterback of Ohio State, at 56. Cam Ward, new quarterback at Miami, is a spot in front of him at number 55. Emory Jones, offensive lineman, LSU. That's another one of those tackles that Lance Hurd wanted to come and start his new journey, because you got Will Campbell, Emory Jones, and some others. LSU, he comes in at number 63. Barian Brown, wide receiver return specialist from Kentucky's there at number 69. Caden Proctor, offensive lineman, Alabama, at 74. CJ Daniels, wide receiver, LSU's at number 90. Juice Wells, now at Ole Miss, he's at 91, the wide receiver. And Mikal Williams, edge rusher from Georgia, in there at number 97. I'm just trying to pick out some names that you guys might know. But nonetheless, James Pearce leads the way at number 1 in college football's top 100 players, according to On3, for the 2024 season. So again, just like this and all the hype he's getting from the NFL draft and all that, it just more eyeballs on Tennessee. it's really good for these Tennessee players because the more times people are watching James Pearce and tuning in to watch James Pearce, if you're a scout, if you're an NFL personnel type person, you're going to be seeing other Tennessee Volunteers, and maybe you'll get on their radars and whatnot. That's the best thing I like about recruiting. If you're a college coach or you're a scout or whatever, and before the days of Huddle, even on Huddle still, you're tuning in on Huddle to watch one specific prospect, or you're going to a game to watch one specific prospect and somebody else is jumping out and making some plays. It's a good way to be seen. So that's what it means a lot of the time for Tennessee's other players outside of James Pearce, but it means Tennessee's going to be a threat. And again, we continue to talk and recycle this conversation. You get after the quarterback, you have good quarterback play, you're going to win some ball games. And James Pearce, all the hype he's getting, what he did as a sophomore last year, and the jump that he can potentially make now is refined, technically sound, as a draft-eligible junior next year. Sky's the limit for Tennessee. Sky is the limit for the University of Tennessee. So, thought that was really, really cool. Wanted to bring it on the show. James Pearce, considered the #1 overall player in college football's top 100, according to On3 Sports. Hey, when we come back, Josh Heupel, where's he ranked? According to CBS Sports head coaching rankings, it's a little bit too low. I'll explain. That's coming up next. We continue on here with a Friday edition of Locked On Vols. Want to see about our friends over at Game Time. You go to Game Time app, you download that, create an account, put in the promo code Locked On College. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Again, Locked On College, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That is Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. What is the Game Time app? Well, it is a place where you can buy tickets to events in your area, not just sporting events, okay? Not just concerts, not just comedy shows, theater, not just monster truck rallies, whatever's going on at the Food City Center this week. I mean, there's something going on over there every single night. You can buy tickets to it all on the Game Time app. Flash deals, zone deals, all-in prices. You can get views of your seats so you know exactly what you're paying for. And also, the lowest price guarantee is one of my favorite things because Game Time, they're going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find a cheaper ticket somewhere else than that of what Game Time is offering you. So, it's for the procrastinator like maybe you, but certainly me. Sometimes tickets are getting cheaper the longer you wait, and you can also buy tickets to your event even an hour after the event has started on the Game Time app. So, again, Locked On College is that promo code, $20 off your first purchase. Create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today, last minute tickets, lowest price, guarantee. Where does Josh Heupel rank as a college football head coach according to CBS Sports? That is coming up next as we continue on here with a Friday Locked On Vols. All right, so list season, all that and more. I mean, listen, I've got a radio background. You guys know this by now. I'm very robotic in terms of my intros, my outros. I mean, that's just coming from a radio background. But something we like to do, late spring, early summer, is something we like to call list season. And some people say, oh, that's lazy radio and all that. Well, I encourage you to come and try to host a 30-minute podcast 5 days a week about Tennessee football in the month of May. I encourage you to come in and try to host a 3-hour radio show about Tennessee football in the month of April or May. It's difficult. So we like to engulf ourselves in list season. And here we are. This is the college football head coaches rankings of the Power 4 conferences. Not Power 5 anymore. Remember, the Pac-12 is gone, RIP. And this is voted on by Tom Fornelli and others at CBS Sports and some 247 writers. So it's not just Tom Fornelli, but he has the byline here. It's a lot of people that kind of vote on their head coaching rankings from the Power 4. They did 66 through 40 and then 40 through 25, and now they're doing the top 25. I think it came out 68, by the way, 68 through 26, and now 25. The top 25 here are out over at CBSSports.com. And Josh Heupel comes in at number 23. At first, I'm saying, whoa, that is way too low, meaning that's not high enough, meaning he should be higher than 23rd, meaning he should be closer to 1 than 23. These lists kind of get confusing when you say higher or lower. Josh Heupel comes in at number 23. This is what Tom Fornelli wrote about Josh Heupel. Seeing how recency bias works in these rankings is always fun. So true. Heupel leaped to number 16 last year after the Volunteers went 11-2 and won the Orange Bowl, and I'd have argued that he was ranked a little bit too high. Then the Volunteers followed up with a 9-4 season, which was more than respectable, and he nearly drops out of the top 25 altogether. What changed aside from the record? This is an area where Heupel should have been ranked last year, but my bet would be that another 9-win season will have him drop a few spots as well. Again, in 2023, he was ranked number 16, so he has lost 7 spots here in this record. Well, I don't think Tennessee's going to be 9-3. Well, I mean, they might be 9-3, but I don't think Tennessee's going to be an 8-4 regular season team. So I don't think we have to worry about that last sentence there. I think, again, college football playoffs should be the goal. I think Tennessee's in that tier along with teams like Ole Miss and Missouri and Oklahoma. Maybe we'll see what LSU is. But nonetheless, we're not talking about that right now. Josh Heupel. Again, recency bias. I couldn't agree more with that first sentence. Seeing how recency bias works in these rankings is always fun. What makes me even more frustrated about this ranking for Josh Heupel is some of the names that come in front of him. Okay, Josh Heupel does come in front of Marcus Freeman at Notre Dame and Matt Campbell of Iowa State. Okay, I would hope so, right? Marcus Freeman is still young in his coaching tenure. Matt Campbell's stability, but Josh Heupel should be right in front of him. Sonny Dykes of TCU comes in right above Josh Heupel. Again, he played in a national title a couple years ago. Maybe that's still worth something, right? Still worth something. He did drop 11 spots after going 5-7 this past year, but did compete for a natty. So, okay, well, whatever. He's one spot in front of Josh Heupel. These two names here, 20 and 21, infuriate me. Eli Drinkwitz is at number 21. This is what they say about Eli Drinkwitz. Don't quote me, I'm quoting Tom Fornelli here at CBS Sports. The alpha nerd, as we like to call him on the Cover 3 podcast, makes a huge jump in our rankings after going 17-19 in his first 3 seasons at Missouri. The Tigers went 11-2 last year, finished second in the SEC East, beat Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. As a result, Drink climbs 30 spots. That's tied with Jed Fish for the second largest jump of the season. The biggest is yet to come, meaning down in the rankings. I wonder if we have another Heupel situation. What happens to Drinkwitz if Missouri finishes with an 8 or 9 wins in 2024? Again, Eli Drinkwitz was ranked number 51 at this time last year, now up 30 spots to number 20. Interesting point there. Is this another Heupel situation to where maybe he's overranked? I mean, we can make the argument that Heupel was overranked last year in this list, but that's not the argument we're making today. I would say so. I mean, I'm the biggest Eli Drinkwitz hater. Okay, if you're an everydayer, appreciate you. You guys know that I'm no fan of Eli Drinkwitz, but I'm gonna give him his props, right? I mean, he did a heck of a job last year. You got Luther Burden, a perennial talent that's going to be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft, probably. You've got Brady Cook, that is a good college quarterback. You had Cody Schrader, where you hit lightning in a bottle last year, and he was phenomenal. You had some pieces to work with, okay? You got Cody Schrader gone. You still have your 1-2 combo quarterback and wide receiver. I'm intrigued to see how Missouri bounces back, but they do have an opportunity to make some noise this year. But should Eli Drinkwitz, who is 17-19 in 3 seasons, jump in front of Josh Heupel because of one magical 11-2 season? You take out the magical 11-2 season, Tennessee's Josh Heupel was still 7-5 in his first year, had a winning record in the Southeastern Conference. So again, there's still more footing to stand on. If you take away the magical year from Josh Heupel, you go 7-5, 8-4. You take away the magical year from Eli Drinkwitz, you go 17-19 in 3 seasons with a couple of losing seasons. I don't know. Recency bias, 100%. So that's Eli Drinkwitz there at number 21. Number 20, and again, if you guys know me, especially going back to my radio days, I talk more about him from an SEC whole perspective than I do here on Locked On Vols. I have a lot of respect for Mark Stoops. I think Mark Stoops has done a heck of a job at a place like Kentucky, coaching a football team that nobody cares about because it's a basketball school. Yeah, I said it. It's a basketball school, even without Calipari there. Tom Fornelli does make the joke here. This is what he says about Mark Stoops. Considering the university didn't want to pay John Calipari's buyout, and then Calipari left to take the Arkansas job, can we now say that Kentucky's definitely a football school? The fact that I say this is only half jokingly is a testament to the job that Stoops has done in Lexington. Stoops is 73-65 with 2 10-win seasons in 11 years with the Wildcats. He's 71-55 after a 2-10 first season. Things have leveled out the last 2 seasons, but Stoops still has the respect from our panel in 2023. Stoops has done a great job in Kentucky. I am not saying that. Over his tenure, absolutely. He's done a great job in Kentucky. I've got mad respect for Mark Stoops. However, Stephen A. Smith style, Kentucky was 3-5 in the SEC last year and 7-6 overall. You ain't got no business. You ain't got no business being ahead of Josh Heupel in this head coaching ranking. No business. You've done a heck of a job. You've done a heck of a job for your 11 seasons or 10 seasons or whatever you've been there at Kentucky. But last year, you went 3-5 in the Southeastern Conference. Ain't got no business being ranked in front of Josh Heupel, in my opinion. So those two really just irk me a little bit. Eli Drinkwitz, give him his roses. Had a great year last year. Okay, but Josh Heupel still, you take out those magical seasons, Josh Heupel's still a better coach record-wise. But here we're nitpicking, right? I mean, Mark Stoops I could see Eli Drinkwitz being in front of Josh Heupel in this ranking because, again, recency bias is real. But if recency bias is real, you went 7-6 and 3-5 in the SEC last year. Why the heck is Mark Stoops even ranked in front of Eli Drinkwitz and Josh Heupel, for the matter? Makes no sense. Jeff Rom's there at number 19. Kirk Ferentz, Iowa, it's respectable. We'll see if the offense gets better there at number 18. Luke Fickell, Wisconsin at 16. Dave Doran, head coach. Tennessee's going to face off on a neutral site in week 2. By the way, that kickoff time, 7:30 Eastern time on ABC, prime time. That'll be fun against the Wolfpack of NC State there at number 16. Mike Gundy. Dude's going to be coaching at Oklahoma State when my grandkids are ready for college. Lane Kiffin is at 14. Chris Kleiman is at 13 of Kansas State. Lance Leipold's at 12 for Kansas. James Franklin taking a dip here. Well, just one spot compared to last year's rankings. He's there at number 11 at Penn State. Lincoln Riley, USC, is at number 10. Not a very good year last year with the reigning Heisman Trophy winner as your quarterback. Dan Lanning at number 9 at Oregon. Mike Norvell, number 8 at Florida State. He jumped up 11 spots, as he should have after last year. Kellen DeBoer there at number 7, Alabama, of course. Kyle Whittingham, number 6 of Utah. Steve Sarkisian, coming off a college football playoff appearance, at number 5. Brian Kelly of LSU's at number 4. That's interesting. Yes, you had the Heisman Trophy winner, but you were 9-3. So, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Dabo Swinney, who says, quite frankly, nobody in the transfer portal is good enough to play for me at Clemson. Dabo Swinney is such a loser. And, oh my gosh, I should do a segment on this. I should do a show on this. The fact that he, being Clemson, led by Dabo Swinney, and service academies are the only programs who have yet to take a transfer this offseason. Just Dabo Swinney, man, he is so behind the times. And Clemson is sprinting downhill right now. And he is stuck on what he's done, not of where he's going. But him saying this week that to be quite honest with you, nobody's good enough in the transfer portal. He said most of them. He didn't say everybody. He said most of the players in the transfer portal aren't good enough to play for us. Give me a break. Golly. Ryan Day at number 2 at Ohio State and Kirby Smart at number 1 at Georgia. Josh Heupel comes in ranked 8th in the SEC in these head coaches rankings per CBS Sports. But I think he should at least be 6th. What say you? I cannot believe that Eli Drinkwitz and Mark Stoops especially are ahead of Josh Heupel there at 20 and 21 respectively when Josh Heupel's at number 23. But hey, that is just me. All right. To conclude a week's worth of Locked On Vols here in segment number 3 on a Friday show, we are going to dive into the top 10 running backs from the year 2010 for Tennessee football, courtesy of my guy Aaron Head over on the X. That is coming up next as we continue on here with a Friday Locked On Vols. It's winner take all time in the NBA and the NHL. FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home the big win of your own. It's playoff time, so no better time to put some coin in your pocket over to America's #1 sports book. That is at FanDuel.com. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 on a bet of spreads, money lines, player props, and so much more. All you need to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make every playoff shot count. Put some coin in your pocket. Playoff time right now. NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball is in full swing. There's no better time to get in on all that action than right now at America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook. All right, so we had a question on Twitter Tuesday that I made a segment out of earlier this week. It might have been from Aaron. Aaron, I can't remember if it was from you or not, but Aaron sent this one in kind of building off that, and I appreciate it as always. He says, I'm going to need you to save this for next week's Twitter Tuesday because if you don't ask it now, I'll forget. Well, I'm going to go ahead and roll this out here on a Friday because I'm searching for hashtag content. After the top 10 wide receivers since 2010, now I want to know your top 10 running backs since 2010. In no order, I'd have to say Poole, Lane, Neal, Hurd, and Wright. That is Torrin Poole, Rajon Neal, Marlon Lane Jr., Jalen Hurd, and Jalen Wright. I can tell you, and because we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here, there was some not very good running backs during that tenure. There were some good ones, some top-heavy running backs, and some not very good running backs. That all 5 of those that you mentioned right now do make my top 10. do make my top 10. Let's go down the list here. And again, there are some that are not even in the same league as 10, 8, 9 are not in the same league as 1, 2, 3 easily. There's a huge separation here from 10, 9, 8, and then 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 are separate, and then 2, 1 are in a league of their own. So I want to make that abundantly clear here. But go back here and look at who's been the leading rusher for Tennessee in each of these years from 2010 on. Who's been, over year, or their career, 3-4 year career at Tennessee, who did the most noise. You're not going to find, again, that's a 14-year period, so these 10 running backs kind of did most of the damage. So I'm going to start at number 10. Number 10 is Marlon Lane Jr. Oh, Marlon Lane never had more than 658 rushing yards in a season for Tennessee. Never scored more than 4 rushing touchdowns in a season. However, he had a pretty solid career. He ran for over 1,700 yards in his 4-year career. His high water mark was as a sophomore in 2012, when he ran for 658 yards, 2 touchdowns. He ran for 534 as a junior. Slipped down to 300 yards rushing as a senior, only 1 touchdown. But overall, he had a solid Tennessee career. But he comes in at number 10. At number 9, Torrin Poole. Man, that is a name that I have not even thought of in so long. I think that he spent some time with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He had a 1,000-yard season as a junior in 2010, and since you put the caveat there at 2010, this actually works out, because in 2010 he rushed for 1,000 yards. He finished up as a senior rushing for nearly 700 yards in 12 games. He scored 11 touchdowns in 2010. He was a really good running back for Tennessee. 11 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards rushing in 2010. That's a really good year. In comparison, Jalen Wright had a fantastic year. He ran for over 1,000 yards as a junior, but he only had 4 rushing touchdowns. Torrin Poole had 11. Again, different schemes and whatnot, how they use these guys. And obviously you had you had a 3-headed monster this year with Jalen Wright, whereas in 2010, I believe Marlon Lane was there, but it was a lot of Rajon Neal or Torrin Poole here. So Torrin Poole, because of the pretty solid 2010 season, he comes in at number 9. Rajon Neal comes in next. Rajon Neal, he played for Tennessee from 2010 to 2013. He had an 1,100-yard season in 2013. Had a 700-yard season in 2012. He scored 5 touchdowns in 2012. He scored 12 touchdowns in 2013. So he was picking them up, putting them down a little bit. He finished Tennessee with, only one of, I had this whenever Jalen Wright did it and whenever Jabari Small did it too. Only 15 running backs all time to finish their Tennessee career with over 2,000 yards rushing, and Rajon Neal is one of those. So shout out Rajon Neal. He comes in here at number 8. At number 9 is a guy that didn't get a whole lot of playing time here at Tennessee, but he's still hanging around the NFL a little bit. That's John Kelly. John Kelly, of course, was on the same roster of Jalen Hurd as Alvin Kamara, so he was the forgotten man, and he barely played. But when Jalen Hurd left the team, when Alvin Kamara had some injury situations, John Kelly stepped up. And then during that brutal 2017 season, John Kelly was the lead back. He had about 800 yards, scored 9 touchdowns. Overall, he had over 1,500 yards in 3 seasons. He entered the NFL draft after his junior year, wanted to get out of Dodge at Tennessee, and honestly, I don't blame him at the time because it was really, really bad. John Kelly, who's still hanging around the NFL, comes in at number 7 for me. At number 6 for me is going to be Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler, again, he's a guy that, let's see here. I want to find his stats. Ty Chandler's a guy that was never great, but he was always so freaking solid. And I felt like he was hardly used the way that he should have been used a lot of the time. Where are you, Ty Chandler? Jeez. 1 second, guys. Here we go. I often thought they should have thrown the football a little bit. They didn't do that often, but he was always here. Middle Tennessee in-state guy. He was solid for Tennessee. Ran for over 300 yards as a freshman in 2017. Ran for nearly 700 yards as a sophomore in 2018. Ran for almost 700 yards again as a junior in 2019. In 2020, shortened season, ran for about 500 yards. Again, just super, super solid overall. He really hit his stride, no pun intended, when he spent his COVID year, and he went to North Carolina and ran for over 1,000 yards in 2021. So Ty Chandler still in the NFL, still doing some things with I believe, his latest venture was with the Minnesota Vikings. I think he's still there. He comes in at number 6 for me. At number 5 is going to be Eric Gray. Point being, I know he left. I know he didn't finish his Tennessee career here, but he did a lot of good things in 2 years, and you can make this your own, right? A lot of people would leave Eric Gray off, and that's fine. A lot of people might even leave Ty Chandler off, but that's fine. There's a difference between the two. I consider Ty Chandler a VFL because he played here for 4 years, he graduated, and he used a free COVID year to go somewhere else. I view him as a VFL. I do not view Eric Gray as a VFL. However, he's going to make my list because he was super productive in 2 years. Had that 200-yard game against Vanderbilt as a freshman in 2019. He ran for over 500 yards as a freshman, nearly 800 yards as a sophomore, scored a combined 8 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns combined if you count passing touchdowns in 2 years. Not too bad. Eric Gray comes in at number 5. Jabari Small is going to come in at number 4. He rushed for over 2,000 yards. Much like Ty Chandler, he was just always there. He was consistent. He was a guy you could count on. And he was a pretty good college back, pretty productive college back for Tennessee, if you ask me. Finishes his career over 2,000 yards rushing. Really, really solid. Had a fantastic sophomore and junior year. His first 2 years with Josh Heupel at head coach. Took a backseat a little bit to Jalen Wright this year, but Jabari Small is a good player. He comes in at number 4 just out of productivity. Jalen Wright comes in at number 3. Magical season this past year. Goes and gets drafted by the Miami Dolphins there. Rushed for over 1,000 yards. Has over 2,000 yards in his career. Again, not many to be able to do that. His 4 rushing touchdowns were all from 50 yards or plus. Jalen Wright was incredible, so he's there at number 3. At number 2 is going to be Alvin Kamara. Spent his first couple years in college at junior college after spending a little bit of time at Alabama. But overall at Tennessee, played second fiddle, and this is the great debate. We're not going to have it here because we only got about a minute left. The great debate between him and Jalen Hurd, okay? My thought process was Jalen Hurd was fantastic. He should have been your lead back, but sure, Alvin Kamara should have been forcing the offense a little bit more. Maybe you use them simultaneously, just like Tennessee did this past year with 3 backs. Point is, Alvin Kamara was fantastic for Tennessee, stepped up in a big way. A combined 16 rushing touchdowns, 7 receiving touchdowns in 2 years. Had nearly 300 yards receiving his first year with Tennessee, nearly 400 yards receiving his second year at Tennessee, ran for nearly 700 yards, and then ran for nearly 600 yards on the ground from his first year to his second year. Alvin Kamara, super productive at Tennessee. Overall, 23 touchdowns in 2 seasons. And then number 1 is going to be Jalen Hurd because, guys, I know it ended horribly. I get it. But if you go look at the career rushing totals for all time, Jalen Hurd's there at number 6 for Tennessee. Number 6 with 2,638 rushing yards. And guys, he did that in 2.5 seasons. He did that in 2.5 seasons. Could you imagine if he finished 3 years full or went 4 years? He was a good running back. He was a really, really good running back and the best running back from a productivity standpoint Tennessee's had since the year 2010. Aaron, great question. Love that question. If you guys want to pick my brain about Kamara versus Hurd and all that, I would love to talk more about that. But that was a whole lot of fun. That was a really good, fun show as well. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make them Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. We'll be back here on a Monday. We'll tell you how Tennessee finished the regular season against South Carolina baseball-wise, what the seed is entering the SEC tournament when Tennessee plays first in Hoover. All that and more. Plus, Max Chadwick and Pro Football Focus coming up next week. And the latest with Tennessee football. Chaz Lanier as well, transfer portal. All that and more right here on Locked On Vols. Thank you guys so much. Tell your friends about the show. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. This is Locked On Vols.